Now, the internet is an amazing phenomenon in that it's developed over the years with hardly anything in the way of central control on principles agreed by the scientists who thought it up 40 or more years ago. But it works. Now, though, discussions are underway at a UN body called the International Telecoms Union, the ITU, to come up with new protocols for a more stable internet. It's China which is leading this effort. But the authors of a study published in the Journal of Cyber Policy are warning that the proposals could give authoritarian governments tighter control over how their citizens behave online. One of those authors, Emily Taylor, explained to me that it wasn't even clear there was a need for change.
The internet is technically made up of a lot of layers. If you blend together some of those deeper layers, you can end up with these, what has traditionally been a dumb network. That's what we always say. The internet is dumb. The network doesn't know anything. All it does is passes information as quickly as possible from A to B or a number of nodes. What if you combine some of those low levels and take the intelligence so that it is in the hands of internet service providers and infrastructure equipment providers like Huawei? So what? Well, if at the same time you re-architect the internet identifiers, the domain name system, IP addresses, you have a blockchain, an encrypted core, where the end of that, it will give a lot of guarantees of trust to anybody who is verified and authorized to go on the network by an operator. You give each person who's connected to the network a persistent identifier that will stay with them throughout. You've got a perfect surveillance system. It allows governments or operators who wish to exercise a high level of control over users and what their behaviours are online to do that.
Presumably there's quite some pushback against this, isn't there, even at the ITU?
There is at the ITU. The pushback has really started coming outside of the ITU. So the technical community who do internet standards are very derisive about these proposals. First of all, they quite rightly point out, look, if you want to solve problems like getting more people online, the internet current architecture is absolutely beautifully capable of solving that problem. You don't need to do this. They point to a real lack of technical specifics. It's really hard to get a real sense of how this would work in practice, whether it has been deployed. And so they're answering the question, do we need this, with a resounding no. Our question is, might we get it?
Might we? I mean, it doesn't sound likely, and if it does happen, isn't it going to be a separate internet run by China?
I think that's the possible worst case scenario. You've got a huge domestic market in China. It aligns standardization with trade and also understands that if standards are made in bodies like the ITU, the UN body, then by international trade rules, they cannot be barred from being in equipment. So it could well roll out these standards just in practice.
Emily Taylor.